Okay, guys, I just wanted to make a real quick video for you today to maybe just help you through the start of that worksheet that I gave you on Friday. Now, on Friday, we kind of combined 10.6 and 10.7 and just did some very quick notes. This slide just had some vocab right here of a circle, a chord, a diameter, and a radius. Kind of drew a diagram illustrating what all of those things looked like. We wrote down the formula for circumference, talked about where pi came from, just the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, no matter how big or how small it is. And then we only had time to do one circumference problem, but you'll notice we did this the same way we've done a lot of problems lately, 3 steps. We wrote out ourselves a formula right here in step 1, circumference is 2 pi r. In part 2, we filled in what we knew, and really the only important piece of information here was the radius. That tells you everything you need to know about the size of a circle. And then in step 3, we went ahead and solved it and got our circumference to be 14 pi inches. Just a reminder to you guys, I'm not going to ask you to go to your calculator and type in 3.14 or use the pi button. Unless the directions specifically say to write it as a decimal, which I don't usually ask for, I want you guys to leave your answer in terms of pi. What I wanted to do with you here was a problem that looked like this, because I know there's a few of these on the worksheet that you're hopefully working on today. So on this problem, it asks you to find the radius of a circle with the circumference given to you of 96 pi centimeters. And we should be pretty good at this by now, guys, because we've been doing a lot of problems for the last month or so where we work backwards. So hopefully we know what's going on right here. Just like always, step number 1 is to write out your formula. Circumference of a circle is still equal to 2 times pi times your radius. And in step 2, we're still going to fill in what we know, the only difference here being we know the circumference now. And you'll notice that circumference has been given to you in terms of pi. That's a really, really nice thing, and you'll see why in just a second. So 96 pi goes in for the circumference. And what we're trying to find here is the radius. That means that r is unknown, and that's what we're looking for at the end of this problem. So step 2 is just to fill in what you know, but now we know the circumference, and we're looking for the radius. And now as we move on into step 3, same as it always was, do what you need to do to solve the problem. We're trying to figure out the value of r, so you always want to ask yourself, where is my variable, what's being done to it, and how do we undo that? Well, our variable, r, is over here on the right, and that r is being multiplied by 2 pi. So to undo that, we're going to divide both sides of this equation by 2 pi. And it's important that we do this correctly, guys, because it's really easy to make a mistake when you go, to your calculator here. Now, the one thing I'm hoping you're going to see right away is that the 2 pi on the right and the 2 pi on the left cancel each other out completely. Now, as far as the left-hand side goes, you've got to be careful about how you type that in. If you go to your calculator and type in 96, and then there's a pi button you can find somewhere over, I believe, on the left side, and then go divided by a 2 and then a pi there as well, your calculator is going to give you the wrong answer. This is not the way we're going to do that. And the reason why is because what your calculator does there is it takes 96, multiplies it by pi, divides that result by 2, and then it reads this as multiplication. So it then multiplies by pi when we actually want to be dividing by pi. So there's 2 quick and easy fixes for that. One of them, guys, is to put parentheses around the 2 pi when you go to put that into your calculator. That'll solve that problem right there. The other quick thing is to not even worry about the calculator here and realize, as I go back up here to step number 2, that this pi on the top and this pi on the bottom are identical factors. They simply cancel each other out. So now all you really need to be typing into your calculator is 96 divided by 2. And so we're going to end up with a radius here of 48. Our units right here, we were in 96 pi centimeters here. And we're dividing by 2 pi, which doesn't have any units, so that means that our radius is going to be measured in centimeters as well. So the radius of this circle here is 48 centimeters. Okay, so just wanted to walk you through a problem like that. And then one more I got for you here. We started talking at the very end of the day on Friday about the area formula here. Area of a circle is equal to pi times its radius squared. And we just had time to do one quick example, and this would be a typical straightforward example where I gave you the radius of the circle and asked you to figure out the area. And we came up with 3 steps as always. 49 pi square inches for the area of that circle. But I wanted to do one more backwards problem with you here. Find the radius of a circle with an area of 729 pi square millimeters. So this one's a little bit more complicated here than the one we had done on Friday. But again, the three-step method here, and we shouldn't really be too concerned. We're still talking about a circle. We're still talking about area. So the formula we need here is area of a circle is equal to pi times your radius squared. And step number 2, we fill in what we know. Now we know that our area is 729 pi, and nobody cares, but I'm going to go ahead and include the units right here. Sorry about that. Include the units of square millimeters there, is equal to pi, and we don't know our radius, and we're going to square that. Now as we move on to step 3 to solve for r, this one gets a little bit more complicated than the last one. Let's talk about y. Where's your variable? Right there, r. What's being done to it? Two different things. And by order of operations, squaring gets done first, then the r squared gets multiplied by pi. So we need to undo a square and then multiplication. And remember, we undo things in the opposite order that they're being done. So the last thing happening here on the right-hand side was multiplication, which means that's what we need to get rid of first. So we're going to divide both sides of this equation here by pi. And again, these two pi's here cancel, these pi's here cancel, and that leaves us with just 729 square millimeters is equal to r squared. So there's only one thing left to do to get rid of, and that's the square. We get rid of a square by taking the square root of the right, and of course we'll do the same thing on the left. So the square root of r squared, the square and the square root cancel each other out, and we just end up with r. And then when we grab our calculator here, everybody, and go to take the square root of 729, that gets us a nice answer, although we probably didn't realize it at first, of 27. And again, just like we talked about here and here with the square and the square root canceling, the same thing happens with the units on the left-hand side. The square on millimeters and the square root cancel each other out, so we get just plain millimeters for the unit on our radius. Now, I know there's at least one problem on your worksheet that asks you to find the circumference of a circle if they give you the area. You would do that problem the same way as what we just did, and now you would just go to the formula for circumference, which is 2 times pi times the radius, and now you know what your radius is. So you would just put that 27 in there for r, and finding the circumference would be pretty easy from that point. And if there were a problem where they asked you to find the radius of a circle when they gave you the circumference, you would start over here and then solve for r, and then move back over here to your area formula. So hopefully you guys can knock out that worksheet packet here without too much trouble. We'll take some questions on it next time we're together. Good luck, everybody.